Hey, everybody. Let me know in the chat really quick if you can hear me. Happy Sunday. Good morning if you're where I am on the West Coast. Good evening if you're in Europe. Um, this is the first time we're doing this. We're going to try it. I think I know what I'm doing. I've done it before, but I've had help. I've been part of the SketchUp team, and that's where we started doing these. Here, I don't need these headphones. It's just me. So I kind of know what I'm doing, but when you do it yourself, it is a little bit of an experiment. We're going to try some stuff. So, yeah. Hey, everybody. What are we doing today? Okay, things look good. I just got to sign off that you guys can hear me. That's awesome. So, real quick, I like to give some context before we dive right in because that is important to me. Like when I'm working on a project, it's the more context I have, the better. So, really quick, why are we doing this? The first reason is because I miss doing this. I miss being with you guys, even if it's only a few of us today. Maybe next time we stream, we'll have twice or three times as many. And I also know that these get posted so that it'll reach people even when we're not live. So that's one thing. It's just kind of cool. And then the second thing is that while summer might be over, I like to travel, and if I can't physically travel, I will take a journey of the imagination, like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, if you've seen Cosmos. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little imaginative journey. Actually, not really, because we're going to a real place, but we're going to we're going to recreate it in our minds and in SketchUp. So everyone can hear me, and let me know if it's too loud. If it doesn't work, what we're going to do is let me pull up a different screen here. Okay, you should be able to see my SketchUp screen behind me. We are going to, so I said why we're doing this, but why are we doing St. Mark's? Why are we going here, for example? And it was funny because when I was thinking of a location to do, I was like, what are we gonna, like, what are we going to model? We could do anything. This is the fun challenge, but the hard challenge of this is what do we do? And for some reason, St. Mark's Square just came into my mind, and I was like, why? I don't know why. I just said, let's do that. And then I thought about why afterwards. And I said, well, you know, what's interesting is that I took my honeymoon in Venice, which was in August, which just passed, our anniversary just passed. And that was 14 years ago. And then my first watercolor sketch, let me pull it up. The first watercolor sketch, urban sketch that I ever did, was when I was studying in Italy in 2000. And see here, I might have to move out of the way depending on which side of the screen it is. So the first watercolor sketch that I did was, yeah, so if I move, I don't know, it's hard because there's a delay, so I don't know which side I'm supposed to move to. This was taken from Lido. We stayed in Lido, and it was looking back sort of in St. Mark's Square is like in the far background. I think there's an island in between there. And it was pretty cool. Dipped my little watercolor thing into the canal and just started painting. Not the greatest sketch, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I think that that is a metaphor for today. It's, you know, we're just trying stuff, and we're going to see where it goes, and we're going to have some fun. And we're going to celebrate Italy. I've got my Vespa mug here. So for those who don't see, I've got my Vespa mug and my cafe, my mocha pot. So if you guys are joining me in the chat, let us know where you're coming from. Let us know, I don't know, let us know if you've got questions about what we're doing. You got questions about what I'm doing. I don't have help here, so I'm gonna read the chat. So if you have a question for me, maybe tag me so that I see Urban's story. And then that'll just make it a little bit easier for me to see that you're asking a question. I'll try and catch as many of those as I can. And then, yeah, let's just go for it. Let's just get started. So I'm in SketchUp here. I'm going to start just for a second back in Google because, I don't know, again, we're setting the stage. When you say Venice, everyone might think Venice Beach. They might think LA. So what we're going to do is we are in northern Italy. We are coming all the way down here into this lagoon. And then we are sitting sort of in the middle of the lagoon, and this is the island, the main island of Venice. It's made up of many islands. And if you guys, if you haven't been to Venice, it's a pretty amazing place. It's why it's voted the most beautiful city ever. It's why it's crazy crowded, which is unfortunately don't go in August, go in October, which is when I went. I went in August and I went in October, and it was much better in October. So anyway, there's the Grand Canal. You guys probably are familiar with this. It almost looks like a fish. I wonder if they did it on purpose. And then all of a sudden you come down here and you've got this amazing Piazza San Marco, or, you know, St. Mark's Square. And then this sort of fronts onto sort of the exit of the Grand Canal as it sort of, so you've got sort of this two sides. You sort of have this entryway in, you sort of the Basilica, the Campanile, and then you have like the main plaza, which is cool because the square is not actually a square. It's actually more of like this trapezoid. So let's just do this. Let's do what we always do. We'll just kind of start. We're going to start from scratch. I was playing around with just kind of creating something graphically, but I'm going to start. Let's see here. I want to open a new from a template. I think I'm just going to open a regular template. Maybe there. But what I want to do is change my units to metric for this because we're working in Italy. So let's just use decimal units. Make sure our length is set to meters. Now, I may or may not be able to do a great job with this because my conversion rate is okay. And then we are going to figure out what we want to do first. So we need I want to model the square, but I know that I'm not going to model all of the buildings in detail because, let me open up here. I've got some images. Yeah, let me take a step back here and say, what is it? Why model the square? What are we going to do with it? So one thing I like to do is when I model stuff, I like to take it someplace. Oh, I need to shrink myself. Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I'm sitting here saying, let's go. And then I'm blocking my screen. So yes, thank you for calling that out. Okay, how's that? That's better. I hope. Thank you, John. So what I want to do is see if we can get enough information to create something that might be like a vintage postcard. Now, I'm kind of debating between a vintage map with maybe some negative space to put some architecture in where maybe we combine the two, or maybe we just look at like grabbing a perspective. And so the question is where do we want to go with this? And this is kind of where my gut says, if we can model the bones of the plaza, then we have the plan view that we can then export as a graphic. And then if we use something like this, we can at least model one or two of the buildings together. So that's the goal today. And then from there, we'll just kind of play. Normally, I'm pretty prepared with this. I kind of work it all out in advance, but today we're just going to kind of see where it goes. So the way I start is, okay, everything's good. You guys are still with me. Thank you. So what I want to do right now is figure out where I saved here. Now, you guys are saying, why don't you use add location? I could use add location, but in this case, what I want to do is I want one image instead of a bunch. And I want to kind of have something that's a little bit higher, maybe a little bit higher quality. So I just went and grabbed one from Google. This is 100 feet. I just said I'm working in meters, but that's okay because you can enter feet in even with meters. You just come over here, turn off length snapping. Let's see, where's my, length snapping's off. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just make this slightly bigger because what I want to do is get this. I want to make sure when I scale my image, this is my background image that I'm going to work with. And we're going to get that as, oh, I'm not getting that. Why am I not getting, okay, we're going to do it this way. It's going to be close. I don't know why it's snapping. I turned off my length snapping. It shouldn't be snapping. It could be because of the units. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to bring in some context buildings. So you guys know with me, there's a few different ways to do this. We can go grab some GIS data, which let's see here. If you guys want to see the process, I'm not going to maybe do the whole process because it can sometimes be time consuming, but if I go to something like OpenStreetMaps, if I can spell maps correctly. Okay, OpenStreetMaps is kind of cool because what you can do here is you can actually select an area. I have my dark reader on, so you could turn that off. You can actually come in and grab some data by saying export. And then what you can do is manually select an area. Now the challenge here is that it has a limit, so I can't do like the whole city. But if I wanted to grab something like this, I can export that. And what it's going to do is it's going to download that data as a file. And then in QGIS, again, now I've already done this part, so I'm kind of glazing through this fairly quickly. But for those that are interested in where I get some of my data sources, you can actually, there's a plugin that's called Quick OSM. So if I come over here to Vector Quick OSM, and then that map file, I just browse to that map file that I just downloaded. So if I go to my downloads and I check by date modified, there it is, map OSM. I click open and then run it. So I'm basically going to import the information from OpenStreetMaps. And then there it is. Now it looks a little bit skewed, but that's because of sort of the coordinates that it uses. So I actually don't know which one I'm supposed to be on. It's basically how it registers. Let's see here. How it's sort of, I don't know which one is the right one. It's all right, because I'm probably not going to use this anyway, but I'm just kind of giving you an example. So what you get is, yeah, you can see that it's skewed. I need to change the orthographic projection on this. But you can see here that what I would do is come in and remove the color. So I would remove the fill, or you can do this afterwards in SketchUp, but I could basically say no fill. And then these points of interest, I probably don't need those, so I might turn off these points of interest. And it's kind of cool because you get some line work that you can now work with as a starting point. So depending on where you want to go, you've got path center lines, canal center lines, and then I can toggle some of these on and off, or you can export them, and it's basically going to be a CAD. It'll be a CAD line work. So if I pop out of here and then pop out of here and pop back into SketchUp, you can take that CAD line work from QGIS, and I might have to scale it. And then there you go. So, and then I don't know why this one came in. It might have been just the way that the ortho projection was set up in QGIS, why it came in rotated. It probably should have come in north up. But that's kind of cool because that's a nice little starting point if we really needed to. I'm going to hang on to this. I may not use this because I want to show you one other method really quick. So I'm just going to hide that. And let me see. Hang on. Let me check my chat really quick. So let me minimize this. And okay, what did you guys say? No scaling method available on SketchUp 2025. No, it's available on all. Yeah. Yeah. So what I did when I scaled this, if you guys missed that, I made a group first of my, so then that way when I go in and I scale this Google using the little scale bar from the Google Maps, what it does is it scales everything inside of the group. So you're not scaling your whole model. And even though there's nothing in the model, I went ahead and did that anyway, because it's just out of habit, just kind of good habit. So another place that I go to, and you guys have seen me, anyone who's seen me stream, is you've seen me go into CAD Mapper. So that's where I got this information from. So CAD Mapper is great because what it does is let's turn my edges back on. It basically gives you not just the open street map building footprints, and it gives you the center lines, but it also gives you building heights if there are any. And if there aren't any heights, you can set a default height. For example, I set the default height at 14 meters. So let's see here. I'm using a dark, by the way, I'm experimenting with like a little way to hijack SketchUp and make the interface dark. But I noticed that there's some bugs to the way that I'm forcing it. Like for example, the measurements bar, if I do measure something, I can't really see what that is. So I might actually, I might see if I can switch that really quick and see if that, give me 1 second. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. So it's going to probably ask me to save this because I'm going to quit SketchUp. So we're going to save this as Venice, St. Mark's. Yeah, we'll save it to the desktop. Okay, so now we're going to pop SketchUp back open again and see if we can go back to our light mode. I was just playing around. I was having fun there. There we go. So let's go back to... Yeah, there we are. Back to the light mode that you guys all know and love. I don't know if you guys love it. I was helping someone in the chat. Sometimes I help people in the forum chats, and they're always asking about dark mode. And I was like, see, even if you try and force it, sometimes it doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is open up this OpenStreetMaps file again, and I'm going to combine that. I'm just going to grab this here. I'm just going to copy this. This came from CAD Mapper, and I'm just going to kind of paste that. Yeah, this is the CAD Mapper one here. So I'm just going to paste that in place. And what we're going to do is just kind of line it up. So where's my square? And so here's the thing, when you line up the buildings, the little trick is that you don't do it by the roof, because for example, this building here is a tower, and you can see that the actual roof is going to be very far because of the angle that it's taken. So what I'm going to do is actually move this so that it sits at the base. I don't know if you can see it, but I kind of want to get as close to the base as I can, because that's really where it's touching the ground. Now, of course, what it's going to do is it's going to look off. In some other areas, it's going to look a little bit off, but that's okay. So let's move this up. That's about as much prep work that I did, was just went into CAD Mapper and downloaded some OpenStreetMap buildings so that we can begin to sort of at least explore what this looks like. And now let me save that. And let me go ahead and grab, what I want to do is start with this tower here. I think I want to start with the tower because it's just so iconic to the square. And then what I want to do is see if we can grab at least one of these building facades so that we can then go to layout and combine the building facade, the tower, which is sort of the iconic part of the square, not so much the paving, and then the footprint of the square, which is the shape. And the fact is that, I don't know if you guys noticed, fun fact is that it's actually the only like proper square in Venice. So St. Mark's is kind of a big deal. I mean, obviously there's little courtyards and stuff, but in Venice, it's actually the only like major gathering space that they have. So it's pretty iconic in that way. All right, thank you, Monsieur Nab, for passing. I know it's your evening time over there in France. Thank you for saying hello and popping in. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of set that aside for a second and we're going to start modeling. We need to open up the references that I created for this, which are here. I had these references open a second ago. So what I did was I found this image online and I thought, this one might work. There's two images for the tower, the Campanile, which is number one here, this one is nice because it shows the whole tower, but it shows it also in like a lot of sketch detail. And then I found somebody who created this, I think out of Legos. It's called Custom Design Brick Model, so I hope you don't mind us using this as inspiration. And I like this because it simplifies it. So for example, when we go to model the base, we're not modeling like hand-drawn, flowing organic details. We can do something that's a little bit more modular. So let's do that. So let's do that. Now I'm going to bring this in here. Now I don't know what the scale is. I don't know if there's a scale bar on this. There is. And I'm assuming that's meters, but let's find out. So I'm just going to try this again here. So 0. Let's see if this works, because I know how tall this tower should be. So 100, my units are set to meters. I don't know. That looks big. So let me measure this top to bottom here. That says it's 283 meters, which is not correct, because I think if I check my number, let me see how big, how tall is it? Do you guys know that offhand? Oh, 98.6. So actually, I'm going to go with that number. I'm going to go with the height instead of the scale bar, because I don't know where this came from, and I don't know what units that is. So what we're going to do is, I don't know if that's measuring, I'm going to measure it to the top of the tower, not to the ornamentation. And what number was that? I said 98.6. Wait, is that how hot we are as people? Our internal temperature? 0.6. It is weird when you're streaming by yourself because you're used to talking to someone and having someone talk back to you, and then like I ask questions and then it's like, okay, let's get modeling here. Let's get modeling. So how are we going to do this? I think what I'm going to do is start by just making a square. We're modeling literally St. Mark's Square. It's funny, the sketch shows this. Okay, so here's what I need to think about doing is you can model really quick or you can model sort of more accurately. So when I look at this number here, I say 13.55 by 13.55. I might just go 13.5 and then comma 13.5. And that, even if that's not what the image shows, it just kind of makes me think I'm using round numbers, which might just make this a little bit easier. And then when I do that offset here, it says 0.44. I might just put that at 0.5. Now, is that exactly accurate to what the image shows? Maybe not, but it's something. So now what I want to do is, I've got two choices. I think what I'm going to do is leave this image here. And instead what I'm going to do is, I've done this a couple ways. If you guys saw my more recent stream, I'm going to make this a component. So Shift G, Campanile. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to rotate this. If you guys are just joining me, thanks for, I see there's a few with me here today. Thank you guys for coming. Just really appreciate, the trust that you have in me and coming on a Sunday, especially for those of you that do the stream with SketchUp on Friday. You guys are committed. All right. So this is where, this is interesting. So this part that comes off the front, it's a projection. The tower doesn't actually come into this. You can see here, if you look at this plan view, this kind of sits off to the front, almost like it was attached. Perhaps it was added at a different date as sort of a more formal entry. This is the side that faces the entry to the square. Let's just pop over briefly and see what that looks like. So what we're going to do is come over here. We're going to put ourselves on the ground. Let's enter the plaza as if we were coming in, as if we just got off the Vaporato. That's the water taxi. And we come into St. Mark's Square. Oh my gosh, it's so crowded. It's so busy. Tourists, go home. Please give me some space. And then here we go. It's beautiful. There's the Basilica. Doge's Palace. We might get to that. We'll see. We're starting with... wait, I don't want to go inside. Please don't make me go inside. I want to stay outside. It's a nice day. Okay. That's good enough. We'll just stop there. So you can see that this thing kind of juts out from the front. So we'll see how we do that. Let's just start with the tower and then we'll do the base and then we'll go from there. And I keep saying hide, but the problem is I have two windows up, so I need to minimize. Okay, great. Let's do this. You guys are like, Eric, just stop talking, just model. Okay. So what we're going to do is, okay, I'm going to take this all the way to the ground. I'm going to take this all, let me set up a scene here. And then I'm going to call this, can't be a trace. I want to move this all the way down because I think that that height measurement goes basically to the ground. So we're going to pull that there. And then what we're going to do is push this up. And we're going to go for 98.6. I don't think that's not going to work because we have to bring this down. At some point it's going to go, oh man, you know what I didn't account for? This tower probably tapers as it goes up, don't you think? I don't know if I want to account for that. I think I might take it all the way to here and just say that it's 1. And then just kind of go with that. It says, Sefi, you say the picture you just got is a structure-based or design one. Well, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Meaning, what a difference between a structured base or a designed one is. Sorry, I have to clarify that one. Okay, let me just set that off to the side. You know what? I'm kind of rethinking this here. I'm kind of thinking I would rather just do one side. I'd rather just draw one side of this thing. So what I want to do is just use this as a footprint reference. Yeah, you can see that even my base footprint is slightly too big. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to scale. We're going to go with what we see in the elevation. That means it's going to be a little bit different from the footprint in the plan, and I'm okay with that. Okay. Now, dude, this is the hard part, guys. For those that are, is that like, are we drawing accurately or are we just drawing? I think we just need to draw. I think we just need to draw something. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to worry about measurements for this. We're just going to go for it. So sometimes when I draw, I will put my profiles on and I will change the color of my trace line work. Oh, okay. No stone depth and other details change. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is hard because you're right. It may or may not, the structure meaning like the thickness of whether it's got the cladding or something like that on the outside of it. So it may be slightly different. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run these up to these arches. It does look like it tapers. I'm not going to taper this thing. That's going to make it much more challenging than it needs to be at this point. what is the dimension between here and here? 1.8? No, don't worry about the dimensions. Okay, so if that's my column, then what I need to do is I need this one here. I need 1, 2, 3 between that. So I'm going to copy this over and then say, no, that's not going to work. Okay, so what I want to do is split the difference. And now I want to split the difference again. Okay. Now, I'm going to make probably one of these a component. Now, every time you have something that repeats, we want to make it a component because instead of doing what I just did, because now if I offset that, move this up, because I don't only want to do it once. And the nice thing about these historic buildings, for those that saw the Crown Point one that we just did recently, they are, a lot of times they're symmetrical, not always. So by using a component, in theory, I can just do one of these. Okay. Okay, so now from here, because we've got a component, I can just paste whatever I'm doing into the component. So what I'm going to do is, I know that I can use follow me for this profile, but for right now, I'm just going to just kind of trace it out so that I have something. And then from there, we can decide once we extrude, we can decide if we want to do it differently. And then there's also another one here where this comes out. And I'm just going to copy that. And we're going to come up. Actually, I'm going to copy this whole thing. So this is like another module of that. That's the endpoint. So I only did this one time because I could just mirror this, or I can flip it. I use the old school flip. I know that that's just because we didn't have the mirror for so long. And what do you guys? Okay, the picture you got is this structure. Yeah, okay. And then Steffi says, and then John says, can you model it square and then taper it? Yes, you can. John, yes, you can. You can taper it using what's called Fredo tools. Fredo has what's called Fredo scale, and one of them is called box tapering. So you can taper to a center point. So that's exactly how we would do it. I'd model it square, and then we would taper it. So I'm going to copy this because I made this a component. I could make this a component if I want. And the nice thing about making it a component first, excuse me, is that you can always change your mind afterwards and then make it a group or explode it or make it unique. But by making it a component first, you're giving yourself sort of that freedom. This one I would want to make unique though. Oh, did I not make this a component? Okay, I want to make this a component. And then this one's not a component, so I'll make it a component. It's a unique. I was going to make it unique anyway because it doesn't have this other part that comes out. It just kind of does that. Actually, what it does is it kind of does that. So how far out was that? I'm going to go with 0.15, and then 0.1. And we'll move that out 0.1. So what are you guys doing with SketchUp lately? What are you guys, who's using SketchUp on a daily basis? Or who uses it for work, or who uses it just for fun? Like me, I'm not really using it for work right now, so I'm just, this is a chance for me just to keep my skills, I hope, somewhat sharp. You guys can answer that while I make some arcs here. This is tough because of the way the image is laid out. I just have to kind of trust. I don't know if it was drawn almost like more as a perspective. So I just kind of have to look at what feels right here and just say, okay, go with that. Entity info, circles, number of circles on this one. I think I'm just going to go with 30 on that. We won't go too crazy. It's especially because you're going to probably see it at a distance. So now from there, offset. Problem with offsetting is sometimes you create a little gap. So, and I also wish there was a multiple offset. I think there might be an extension that's multiple offset, where you could just say, I want to offset this. Like in CAD, you can do multiple offset. So here I'm just going to check my measurements, 0.2 meters. And I'm going to go 0.2 meters, and I'm going to do one more just because I want to keep things going. 0.2 meters. And yeah, so see what I mean? So when you're working with arcs, what you're going to get is this little air gap here, and you just need to come in and remember to close those because that arc is not going to know. And then on the other side, you might get the opposite, is that your line is going to go a little bit too far. So we'll just clean these edges up as we go. James says, you're trying to make extensions, working on Gizmo overlay. Oh, I think I might have saw yours on adding different types of scaling. Funny, I use SketchUp every day, but I don't model that much. Yeah. Using it for, Seppi says, using it for decoration, CNC, and architecture. Cool. I like to see people doing different things. See, I'm not really like a pure modeler, which is why I don't do like 3D printing. Or I don't do, hang on, this is where I need to make sure I'm paying attention. Okay, is that centered? I think so, okay. Sometimes it's easy just to draw like a little guideline there, and then from there I grab it from the center point and place that, and I know that that's snapping centered. Otherwise, without that, it's sort of like if you use an edge instead of a center, you may be off. You may be snapping to an edge, and you might be off center. So what I want to do here is I'm going to put this on a tag, and I'm just going to put this on a tracing tag, an image tag. So what we're going to do is come over here, place this on an image tag, and the nice thing about that is then without having to go into my tags, I just turn this off, update this, and then what we can do is go back and forth. Now, the other thing we can do is under scenes, if we call this scene here view, and I have one that's called trace, I can turn the camera angle off on both of those, camera location. So the nice thing about setting it up that way is that I can trace, view, trace, view. I don't know what happened to my styles, so I'm going to have to fix that. And what we want to do is under trace, we want this style. And we're going to update this. And then maybe under view, we actually go to our default style and sort of update it. So we can start to see what this begins to look like. Now, once we get it together, we're going to rotate it. So let's just trace a little bit more. Modeling right before the stream. All right, well, thanks for taking a break. I don't know if you can model and watch a stream too at the same time, because I'm a multitasker, so I kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I try and do too much. Okay, so again, we're just kind of trying to go a little bit quicker here. So I'm going to not worry too much about dimensions. We're just going to do something that looks right. Okay, and then also the other thing too is that we don't actually have to model this whole thing. We could just model half of it. So even I could just, problem is this one component in the middle. You'd have to make that one unique and split that one in half, or you'd have to set that on top. So we'll see. I mean, it's probably easy enough just to copy and paste everything. I'm going to do that now. For this part, I'm going to split this whole part in half. So let's do that. So we're only modeling one half of it. And then we'll just make this a component, and we'll just flip this thing over. So that's my center line right here. We're going to go all the way up to the top. And for just so we get our boundary. Yeah, when I did the last stream, hi Steven, welcome. Norway, awesome. Norway is representing. We're trying to see how many people we can get here and how many continents or countries we can cover. We've got Romania. We had France. I don't know if France, I think, had popped off. We've got Syria joining us later. Got 2 from California. And So this would probably be better to grab as a profile. So if I just come over here like this, and I just take this section here, we can use the follow me tool at the end. So I may want to keep any of like these little details where we get this, I probably should taper. Yeah, so this whole like facade here, if I were to pull this, I can't pull it in. Yeah, I could pull it in. I could pull this in. Let's pull this in. Save, you guys need to remind me, save. Okay, let's just pull this in for now and see if, there we go. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw this whole thing as a profile. And I'm not gonna worry about too much on detail because it's gonna be, think about where you're viewing this from. You're viewing it from below, pretty much. So I think not getting too crazy. So if I do this whole thing, could taper it, but I don't know that I want to taper it yet. I think that idea of tapering it all at once at the end was sort of the right idea. Yeah. I'm always like interested. I always ask people like, okay, how would you do this? Because and then I find out later afterwards on the chat, someone's like, oh, I would do it like this. And I'd go, oh, yeah, well, that's smart. Turkey, that's right. Turkey in Belgium. Thanks, guys, for don't let me miss you. I'm gonna give everybody credit for showing up today. Yeah, this is my first stream, guys, and I thank you for just trusting me here. I know that right now you're just watching me trace, and I know it's probably not the most exciting thing in the world, but it does, as you know, this stuff starts to come together pretty quick once you get sort of the pieces. Sometimes it makes sense to sort of pre-build some of these, and then sometimes you just, I mean, this is the reality of, I mean, this is kind of the nature of our reality is like, where do we get this information from? If we don't have it, we have to build it. So I want to try doing a follow me really quick. Let's just do a test. So what I'm going to do is grab everything that we just built. I'm going to make this a component. I'm going to leave it flat because I do like kind of tracing flat. And then I'm going to just lift this up. Now I already have, whoops, you guys see, missed my mistake there. When I rotate, I need to make sure that my plus sign, sometimes that plus sign disappears. And then I end up just rotating it, and then it just ends up rotating, and then I end up not getting that copy. Okay. So sometimes here it helps if you, yeah. So what we're doing here is, if I'm going to do something in 3D, like when we start to push pull, I might still want to draft in 2D, but I'm really kind of wanting to see what those projections look like. So let's try this. This is the scary part of doing this, is because I really am more of like a rehearse the steps kind of person. And when I don't do that, it makes me nervous. So Minnesota. Oh yeah, James, I didn't ask where you're from. John, UK? Jeez, I want to get a map. I want a map pin where we can put everybody. All right, let's see if this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this profile that I just built here. And I know you can do it inside of a group, but I forget how to do that. It doesn't work for me. So I'm just going to go Tools, Follow Me, and I forget sometimes. Sometimes I actually, whoa, see? This is the problem. So what did I do? What did I do wrong? Oh, if Mihai's here. Help me with follow me, Mihai. I can do this manually, but I don't want to. I wanted to see here. I want to basically take this profile and then I want to copy this around this profile. So if I were to, I don't know, if I were to take that face, I want to go around the square. Is it because maybe it's because yeah, this is what I thought I would use. Wouldn't this go around the square or no? Do I need to be on the inside? Perhaps I need to be on the inside. Like that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way if I can get it to work. Follow me. grab that profile. Yeah, it kind of worked. Perhaps it's because I can't see because I'm blocking it. Select the path first, then enter the group. All right. I need to try that, John. Thank you. I remember that, but it doesn't always work for me. So now I can come in here. Just get rid of all this stuff. Get rid of all this junk. Paste that in place. And then let's see what happens if I take that straight down. Now I might have to, I may have, again, because of the way I did the profile, I might just kind of fake it just to keep things going here and just say, let's pull that out. I don't need this. I think that was extra. That was just part of my path. I don't know. Maybe I needed that. How come this one didn't go? Oh, this one wasn't part of it. So the other way to do it is, you just kind of old school do it. You go like that. But the problem is then you get to a corner, and then what do you do with the corner? You have to go and flip the thing, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, this is not the right way to do it, where I'm having to like manually sort of put that into place, but I'm just kind of moving forward. Matt says, beautiful day. Matt, what are you doing? Oh, you're on East Coast, so I don't know what you're doing Sunday. It's still early here. Boy, I said we were modeling a square, and all I did was just import some OpenStreetMap data and then start just screwing up a tower. So, man, this does feel like a SketchUp live stream when you think you're gonna do something really great, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, this is tough. Okay, stop talking. Let's go. Okay, so camera 1. So this is how this is where it is. Let's go with that, and then we'll clean it up, we'll fix it, and then let's keep going. Let's add some stuff here. Oh, this is gonna be. Why did I choose this? Now I'm really like second guessing my decision. It's just like a lot of little things. Like when I go to extrude this, I have to be thinking about like, oh, how do I want to extrude this angle? And oh, if this is symmetrical, then it's like that needs to be equal. So then I could use, again, I could use my old school method, or I can use, yeah, the flip tool. And then it's like you've got one of those now. So we need to make that a component. This is probably round, so I almost want to just like draw a center line for this. This would be a good one for a follow me tool. I'm just going to fake this. I'm just going to fake it at this point. I know that this isn't really going to work, but okay, this is where if you're using follow me, you can taper a little bit. Okay, so what did I do? Why do I not have a closed face on that one? I'm asking you, Matt. No, I'm just kidding. I should have called this channel the Backseat Modeler, because that's what I'm always doing. It's like when I watch these streams, I'm always like, oh, I would do it like this, or have you thought about, or try, I'm always wanting to get involved. 0.05, there we go. All right, so now, sorry, this is a little bit tricky because I have to switch between perspective. Let's do this. Let's rotate this up 90, make that a component, go into it, draw a circle. I don't care how many faces are in that. We're going to go tools, follow me. I should have this as a keyboard shortcut. Don't know why I don't. And then there we go. Okay. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to make that a component, and I'm going to pull this up 90, go into it, draw a circle, select the circle, follow me, and it looks a little weird because they're overlapping each other, but get rid of that one. I didn't really need that one. So save. I don't have a keycaster. Matt says you got the wrong guy. Okay, this must be another Matt. The profile picture looks the same. That smile, I swear, it's got to be AI. Someone's deep faking my buddy Matt. Don't trust unless I meet him, unless I know it's him. Okay, so here's a little trick here. If we do this, if we come in here, if I want to get that center line where it intersects, I think I can say intersect with model, and it draws a line because that image is in the model, so it just cuts that line, and it just gives me a line reference point. Sorry, I'm inside of the, I hate when I'm inside of a component. Okay, so that line is nice because then I can, it's just, for me, it's easier to grab this center point. I can find that and just go ping, there it is, and ping, there it is. So this one I'm going to change to, I don't know, 30, 24? 24, that's good. Yeah, you guys talk to each other. There's 10 of you on the stream today. You guys, it's like the, have you guys seen the, it was Mike Myers when he would be like, I'm going to give you a topic, peanut and butter. I'm not doing it right. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, that was a crash. Okay. So let's grab SketchUp. Okay. Well, that's why we save. Huh. I was doing an offset, so I just have to redo that column copy there. It's not too bad, the damage, but it's okay, you know, happens. We'll try this again. So we're gonna go move. So funny, I hit C for copy, and there isn't a C for copy. It is a, yeah. Okay, you guys didn't see, there must be a delay in the chat. Maybe you guys didn't see that I was panicking there for a second. I'm gonna move that over to here. I want to center that. I have to be careful. But that's pretty good. I thought that's pretty good recovery. You know, I think for a first stream, that could have been bad. That could have been bad. But we did it. We're here. What am I snapping to here? I know I'm in X-ray mode. I know I've got stuff all over my screen now. So here's what I'm gonna do. When I'm in plan view, I want to hide the tower. And then I want to hide this other tower because I don't want to see those when I'm tracing. And then when I'm in view, I do kind of want to see them. So there we go. Okay. What I was asking is what I'm snapping to here because I was trying to find this center point. I'm trying to draw this up there and it wasn't really wanting to do it. I think I got it. Yeah, thanks guys for, boy, that moral support. I needed it. Needed it there for a second. Okay, I'm going to try not to pan around so much. I'm going to try and stay in one place. Okay. Oh, yeah, I goofed. That profile that I made here, you have to remember, and you guys didn't call me out on this, is that it doesn't go all the way around. I almost think I'm going to have to do them piece by piece. Like, for example, this one only goes around this piece. I don't know. I'm laughing because it's like I'm the one who's supposed to be like, you know, in charge of this thing, and I'm like, I don't know if that's so. Okay, so what's this? Is this flat? This should be flat because it feels like it's snapping to something. Okay, so I'm going to change my camera angle to show camera location. And I'm going to update that. So that way I don't bounce around. I can always come back here, view, here. Okay. GH Hubers, hey, don't worry about it in the beginning. This is where it gets good. You just missed a crash and me just kind of questioning what it is that I'm doing here. Questioning my sanity. Why does it keep snapping? I'm wanting to get from here to here. Shouldn't be, it's not asking too much. And then what I want to do is go up. We're going to redo this again. This is right actually where it crashed. I was offsetting. So for those that didn't see that part or just joining us, that was fun. And hey, I've been pretty lucky lately, actually. I feel like it doesn't happen very often, and it shouldn't. So, but it does. So we're going to try that again right here. There it is. And make that a component. And we're going to copy that over. And let's see here. I think that was right there. Yep, that's it. Okay. Yep, we're just going. So I'm going to use the move tool, and I'm just going to use the stamp. So I'm going to stamp, stamp, stamp. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pull from here. I'm just going to kind of pull some lines over. I might just do this as like line work. Then if I was going to do this in line work, just as line work, you'd say, well, why didn't you do this in Illustrator? Why go through all this effort if you're not going to do 3D? We've got to do 3D. We've got to do 3D. That's what we're doing. That's why we're in SketchUp. Sephi, you say it's happened. You get those crashes too. Yeah, I mean, it does happen, but it's one of those things where yeah. I just kind of save religiously. I just kind of save constantly. It's just like almost like breathing. You just Command S, Command S. So after a while, it just kind of feels second nature. Okay. This part's kind of fun. We're just offsetting here. At least getting something that we can start extruding, because that's where I think it's going to get interesting, is when we can start extruding, which is coming up here in hopefully in just a few minutes we can start. So this is interesting. I think I have to redraw this one. I think I did something wrong here. I need to redraw that one. There. Good evening, Mr. Hubers. Oh, that's not to me. All right, good. Yeah, you guys, thanks, Mihai. You guys entertain each other. And yeah, so if you guys missed the beginning intro, I mean, obviously this will be recorded. You can go back and catch it. But I was saying in the beginning that this is kind of Venice in particular is kind of a special place for me, having studied in Italy and done like my first urban watercolor sketch there. I'm just going to stop this one here. I'm not going to go to a peak. I'm going to stop it on a line. And then also just, going to the Biennale for my honeymoon. That was kind of fun. Has anybody been to Venice in the chat or not been? Want to go? I was curious who's been to St. Mark's Square. Also, if you've been there, I have not been there like when it's flooding. I imagine that's going to be interesting. Okay, we're going to do this pretty quick and dirty. I'm going to probably use the Same, follow me. I could do this more organic, but I could do this like with rounded shapes, but I don't know. I feel like I'm just, yeah, just wanting to get something. Okay, so let's start getting this into into 3D. I know that we're missing some pieces here, and I know there's some details and stuff, but let's start seeing combining. Let's start getting some of these things up. Okay. Never been. John. Hello. Ahmed. Hello. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So where we're at right now, we are trying to figure out how to get this facade into 3D. Now, I can take this whole thing here and I can make this a component. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking we do. Make this whole thing a component. I need to deselect that. I can always delete this after the fact. I'm going to make this a component, and then what I'm going to do is copy it, paste it in place, scale it by -1, and then I'm going to move this over. This might be, I might have to redo this roof because this roof is going to taper. So it might make more sense to do this roof individually. Right, because here now I've drawn it flat, but it's not flat. So the next thing to do is to take this thing here and go 90 degrees. And then what I'm going to do is scale this -1 so that it's sticking out. So let's go, if I clicked off my view mode, can you guys see that okay? So this is where we can fold. We can try folding this down almost like origami, but it might make sense at least to build a shell first. Okay, so let's finish this. Here is my sort of shell. This is just like my frame that I was using, you know, that I knew that was base height, but if I may not even need this, you know, that might have been just kind of a placeholder. So if I take these two and I copy them, let's see here. Oh, maybe I'll just do one at a time. Copy this from here, rotate 90 degrees, scale this by -1. And same thing last time, we're just going to grab one of these. We're going to copy that. Whoops, did that wrong. I'm going to copy this. How about this? Copy, paste in place, move instead of move copy. Move that up. Has anyone had that where like when you try to move something and snap it to a corner, sometimes it doesn't snap? That you have to, I found that if I make a copy of it, it'll sometimes work better. Okay, so this is interesting. With my X-ray off here, I'm going to hide all this stuff here because we're going to be working just on this tower for right now. And then we're going to place this. So it says, have you guys include image to 3D in any of your projects? Image to 3D, like meshy, like AI kind of thing? I haven't really played with that, although I've seen some people. I've done some experiments, just some tests, but you know, they all charge you, so it's like, I don't want to pay for a subscription for that. Yeah, maybe not. I'm wondering, it might be easier if to go back in time and just delete half of this, because they're probably thinking like, okay, that's, what are you doing, man? I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking it may be easier to work if I had this here, if this was a, if this was, here, I need a reference line. There we go. What I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna leave that one there. Take all of this stuff here, just split it in half at this point. Just split the whole thing in half. Get rid of half of it. Take all of this, except that one component, because that's going to sit on top. Copy that, a little scary. Go into this component and then paste that in place, because we've already made the effort of, and this one right here, this one component, it has to sit. It already sits. So, okay. Oh, that's weird. Okay. So what I'm going to do is copy that. I'm going to explode it. And then what I want to do is, what I need to do is push this in. I don't know how far I want to push this in, but let's go with 0.5. Let's see what that looks like. Paste that component back in place. And then I can come over here and push that in, this one in 0.5. It's not going to let me. It's going to say, oh, it did. It disappeared. So maybe what we'll do is instead go this one 0.4. Oh, no, we're going to do it the other way. We're going to do it the other way around. We're going to push. Sometimes I've found that it's easier to pull. I find it's easier to pull forward than it is to push backwards. What do you guys think? Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this one forward instead, and we're just going to go point, say 3.5. And then what I might do is go with 0.25. And then I might come over here and go with 0.15. And maybe bring this one in 0.5. 0.05. Yeah, okay. So that looks a little bit weird because I now need to push this one here. And then also I need to get rid of this whole face because, okay, so this is where it's hard because I have to explode it. I almost have to copy this arc, paste this in place so that I can, yeah, delete that. And then I probably want to close that gap, even though we're not going to be looking at this from below. We probably want to just go ahead and close this gap now. And this is where I think normally I would get really picky, and if I see extra little stray edges like that, I would clean those up. But in this case, I'm probably going to let stuff slide just to keep moving forward. So we've got this here as a component. I want to pull that out. Remember, it's easier to go out than in, I think. I'm going to use this 0.05 or this 0.1 meter as sort of my benchmark. So if I want to pull 2 out, I'd go 0.2. And then if I want to pull this one out to give it a thickness, I might go 0.1, right? And then from there, that's just, and double click that. So if I go into it, if I have this component here, I would probably want to come over here and do the same thing. But if I want that to be even further, I'll just use that module 0.1. And then I'll bring this one out to here and then come out 0.1 and then do the same thing. I'll try, or you can try lining it up. Once you've done one, you can line it up with another one. So that one I want to pull out to, again, I want this. This one, I know this is not how this would be. This would be sculpted. I would want to use something, I would want to use an extension, you know, to sort of do this properly. But I'm just going to pull this whole thing out just for now. So you guys said, love the thought process. Dude, guys, I really like to have, like, be really crystal clear with what I'm doing. And because I don't, like, I like to experiment. I like to experiment by myself so that when you guys, when I'm doing this with you, you see, you're seeing, you know, something that makes more sense. Yeah, but you guys get to see me, kind of struggle a little bit. Is that part of the fun? Matt thinks that's part of the fun. And Matt says he's tested some AI stuff. That's cool. All right. So speaking of, this is where if you were smart, and I say you, if I was smart, because I'm the one doing this here, what I would do is sort of think about grouping some of this stuff. And the reason why is because I said it's easier to push than pull, I think. So what I would want to do here is give myself, firstly, a flat surface. I would find the intersection where these come together. And I would give myself a flat surface to work on. Whoa. Yeah, because the reason why is now I can use that flat surface as a bit of an offset. So for example, I could take this group here and I could figure out where those come together. And in a perfect world, they would come together at, I'm going to go with 0.8. So now if I needed to, I could come in here and I could offset this 0.8. That's not right. Oh, it's because this needs to come down. Okay. Yeah, so just kind of give myself something to snap to. So now I'm starting to get a little bit of articulation. I don't know what this is. This is a carryover from something else. Oh, I'm just going to delete this. I don't know what that is. I don't want that. Go away, you. This is where I think I have to do those, excuse me, I don't like the zoom. That's why I model in parallel projection, is because sometimes I feel like without a space mouse, the zoom gets a little crazy. Okay, so this is where I'm going to pull this back to here. And let's see here. No, it's okay. I'm going to have to work on these trim pieces. I'm going to cover these. I'm going to have to redo these trim pieces. So now we could, I'm going to have to group this one separately now, which is the whole, I'm going to leave this alone. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this here. I'm going to copy this little part because this is going to be a follow me that sits on the top. So I'm going to copy that. A little pro tip, if you want to delete something and not delete the shared edge, you group it first, delete. And I'm going to paste that in place. It's going to sit sort of on the top, so I'm just going to kind of set it there for a second. So now I need to group this separate. So select these offsets. I'm going to group that separately, and then what I want to do is rotate. Now I'm just going to kind of, again, given the fact that I'm just going to kind of eyeball and see what the number of degrees are for this where it starts to converge. If I was to do this properly, I probably would figure this out. So if we go 12.5, 12.8, 12.9 degrees, and there's still a gap, 13. Yeah. Yeah, you could just see me kind of guess numbers until I get close enough. 12.93. We're going to call it that. We're going to say it's 12.93. Good enough for me. Okay, so now we can take this thing here and we can move this. I'm just going to save really quick. And I'm going to set this here. And we're going to set this here on the center line. So that's, we know our center line here. I know I can do that with inferencing, but I'm not the inferencing master like my old friend Tyson is. So we have to decide whether this is going to be circular or square. I think I'm going to go with circular. So I'm just going to draw a circle. And I'm going to select that circle. Tools, follow me. And oops, that's a group. I know you can go in the group. I'm not good at that. It just doesn't always work for me. Tools, follow me. And there we go. So what I can do is just group that. Let's see how we're doing. I mean, it looks like a bell tower. Ahmed, you said you like to experiment. I don't know. Again, yeah, I do experiment, but it's I also like it when I just like knowing that it's going to work. Okay, but here's the thing. I think I tried a little too much. I think I tried to be a little too smart with how I did this um, thing here. I'm not sure whether I want to just, now that I've made this thing a whole, now that I've made this a component, I think it almost makes sense to just push pull it instead of using that follow me. The only problem is what happens when you get to the corner. And so if it was rounded, how would you do this corner, guys? I mean, I could push pull it further and then it just until it, that's not going to work because of the way that this is. I could just draw a line here, copy that. I want it at a 45. This is where you could use solid tools. Follow me is not going to, if it follows me, it's going to be harder. Follow me, tools, follow me. I don't know if it's going to round that corner. No, see, that totally messed up. That's messed up. Now you could come over here and just bring that in 45 degrees. Yeah, I could just fake it at this point and just say, hey, why don't I just connect? I'm just going to connect these at 45 degrees. I know that's probably not correct, but it's something. It's something. We're getting some articulation. It says copy the end of it and rotate it between 45 degrees. That's how I do it. Nick says it's starting to come together. It is starting to come together. Thanks, Nick. Okay. You know what's easy? So we could do the easy stuff. So I know I said it's easier to pull than it is to push, but we can, the reason why is because, for example, if I take this and I group and I group, and I take this whole thing and I push this. Oh, I see. Okay, let's do that. So let's take this whole thing. No, that's okay. This one we're pushing in. This one we're going to push in. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to push this in. We're going to go 0.25. And then what we're going to do is we're going to line that one up and we're going to line this one up. Okay, and this one we're going to push this one in, I don't know, do we want to do 0.25 again? I mean, we're talking about meters, so 0.25 meters, that's what? Is that only like, is that like half a foot? Is that like is that like, yep, just wrote that, urban storage studios with 0.25. Okay, clean up. Now we need to clean up this stuff where we split because we're doing this as a component in the, we have to clean up any of that extra geometry that you get on that center line. And you also have to look for things like this. This is where it's getting, a little bit messy. Sometimes you can come in and use hide rest of model. But I tend to like to use see the model because I'm always like snapping when you're working on big projects like this. It's like I'm always referencing something. So let's see here. I want it, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to close this gap here. There's a gap. Yeah, all right. So, and we can do the same thing here. We can just kind of just take this whole thing. I don't really need those lines because you're going to see them once I push pull. Push pull this to the center line there. I'm going to leave the corners for right now. I think at a distance, if we look at it in elevation, like, you know, depending on how we look at it, I don't even know that you're going to see this corner. I mean, this is kind of a messy corner that I did anyway. It's not a really perfect corner. Oh, see, I need to see if I'm going to do this right. have to follow, I got to do this whole thing. I got to do all of these little pieces. Select all those. Whoops. Group that first. Pro tip. Group this first, perhaps. Enter it. Follow me. And then, again, I got this little corner. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave this corners. This here, I can see here. I want to what do I want to do with this? What do I want to do? I feel like I need to do the same thing that I did down here with these. In fact, if that's a component, no, I can't because it's different. It's 1, 2, 3 little rainbow arches, and this one is 1, 2 rainbow arches. So what I'm going to do is copy that, explode it, so that I have just the outline or the sort of space that this is going to take up. I need to make this a shape where I can push this in. Oh, why is it doing that? Intersect faces. Okay, I just want to push. Oh, that's weird. That's weird. Do you guys see what I'm doing? Why is it doing that? It's sticking. These are sticking. Huh. Well, I'm just going to paste that back in place, hide it, group these, hide these, and hope that, did you see my face there? My face is like, I'm going to push this in 0.25. Okay. No, do I want to push this in 0.5? Okay. And then what I want to do is the same thing. I want to do the same thing for this. I want to take this whole group here. I want to copy this over. There we go. And I want to delete that. There it is. Unhide this. Now we're cooking with gas, as they say. We're going to push this all the way in. We're going to weld these edges first. Weld edges. So I don't get that. Otherwise, I can soften it afterwards. It's not the end of the world. There we go. Push that one in 0.15. Yeah. Push this one in. No, I think I want to push that one in 0.2. 0.05. Push this one in 0.1. Oh, that didn't work. How about we pull out instead? Like I said, I like pulling out than pushing in. I know there's a joke in there somewhere. I'm not going to repeat it. We're going to keep this PG. There we go. There we go. The thing that I'm worried about. Okay, so weird. Ahmed says weird. Hi, everyone. Patrick, welcome. Welcome. What you're seeing me do now is just sort of struggle a little bit. Where did my arches go? Guys, there they are. So that was weird. My arches were connected to my push-pull. So that's why they were moving. They're not my arches, sort of my columns. My columns that are supporting the arches. So it's the problem when you're doing this is you can't really think and talk at the same time. So I was push-pulling a second ago, if you're just joining us, and my arches, my columns under my arches were like sticking. There. What should I do with this? Should that go back? That should probably go back, don't you think? I don't know. I mean, that looks, maybe that looks weird, but I'm okay. So this one would need to come over. Just that one. This is so messy, you guys. Like, I'm not, this is why I just prefer to stay like in working with like my landscape objects, because I kind of stay in my safety zone. And then when I get into stuff like this, it gets a little scary. It gets a little scary for me. What is going on here? Why am I getting... Okay, that's okay. So I'm going to intersect this with the model. Let's just take a second and see how we're doing. We're doing okay. We're doing okay. Needs a little bit of cleanup. You guys, for just joining me, we said we're going to do St. Mark's Square. I actually have it over here. We actually started with the square, and then we were going to put the tower into the square. And I think the tower by itself is a full stream. And then what I wanted to do was do something kind of pretty with it. So I kind of wanted to do something, I don't know, just create some sort of graphic if we can. That might have to go to, what we do with this may bump to a different stream, but let's see. So let's do the base. I'm going to build the base because I hope that will be somewhat, maybe go a little bit quicker. So what I need to do is know here, I need to know basically how tall or how wide this is. I'm going to say 9.8 and wide. We're going to say 16.25. So we could just say 16 if we wanted to. It'd probably be okay. So what I'm going to do is group that so I don't scale everything in my model. Come over here, grab this from here to here, and just say 16. We're working in meters. We're in metric here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of do this separately because it's a bit of an add-on. So I just want to kind of take a break from the tower really quick and just see if this actually goes a little bit, maybe a little bit quicker. I'm using this Lego one because I think it's just more like how I would model this, boxing it out versus trying to get in and looking at the ornate level of detail. We need to simplify so that we just kind of get the shape and the structure. So soften edges, get rid of some of those edges. I'm not sure what the shape smoother. Do you know how it works? Matt, Kids Nap, thanks, buddy, for showing up. I appreciate it. And yeah, Patrick, beautiful location. So we talked about, again, we talked about the elements of St. Mark's Square is not just St. Mark's Square. It's really the buildings. It's really the buildings in it that are going to make this special. So that's what we're starting with. Starting with the tower. So I'm going to do the same thing here. We are going to just split this in half. And I hope that this goes a little bit quicker because I'm just keeping the sort of proportions a little bit boxier, a little bit more simplistic, just for the sake of like moving quicker. So we can kind of get something. All right, so first things first. All right. I'm going to go with that. That's going to be my half. So what we'll do is make that a component. Actually, we don't have to make it a component yet. We technically could just draft the whole thing. The nice thing about that is you're not entering into the component. You're actually just able to just straight draft. We're going to keep this super simple. But we are going to want to do a component for, like, for example, like this column here. And then this column here, I mean, we might as well just make this whole thing just one component. I'm not going to name it because that just would take too long. This is where I have to do some math really quick. So if we started with this same column here, well, we don't have to do math. We could just assume that these two are the same. We could just assume that these two are equal distance. And then we can just set those there. So at least we know that these two are equal distant. And we'll just go with that. And because this is a component, we can enter into this, and then we can come in and we can just go like that. You guys came to see some 3D modeling, and you guys got to see some guys. James says save. Thank you, James. You guys got to see some 2D stuff today. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So when you split an image in half, when you split something in half and it's not a true orthographic, you're not going to get stuff that lines up perfectly because there's perspective, there's depth of field. So what we're going to do is just kind of take our best guess at where we think, like if I think this arc is actually here, if that's what it is in the image, well, that's not what it is, right? We have to actually find, that center point. So I would find the I would basically draw it the way that I see it, but then I would shift it into position. So it's actually centered. And if it feels like if I want to tweak that, a little bit, I can. So now, because we're only doing half of this, we're just going to do half of this. So, but I actually do need, maybe before I did that, I should find the center point between here and here. It's there. So a lot of this is just like, wait, that doesn't look centered. That must not be centered then. That's going to be centered there, which means that I've just duplicated it. There we go. That's centered there. And we don't need that half. We'll keep it for a second. Okay, save. Okay. This balustrade here, I'm just going to very simply, I know this is a Lego, so it's not really, this is made of Legos, so it wouldn't be this simple of a shape. But I'm actually going to just use, I'm going to use what I've got. Okay. So if I copy that over, now I need to figure out where the center point is on this there. So same thing, you'll notice that this is a lot of just kind of rinse and repeat. Copy an object over, scale it over by -0.5, bring this over here, and then, whoa, don't do that. I think that's probably why you should use the flip tool, because then you won't do that. You won't have that problem. So now I've got my, oh, I didn't even need to do that, did I? Because if I'm going to make this a component, I could just use the circle. I could just draw a circle, select this, tools, follow me, and then do that. Okay. So then the nice thing about that is I make that a component. I don't need this anymore. So I would group delete and then copy this over. I know that this is centered, so there. To get this equally spaced, what I would do is I would take this reference line here and I would copy this line over to here. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't worry about it. That's what I wouldn't do. I would just say, yeah, that looks good. And then what I would do is copy that over one more time, divide it by 2 so that I know it's centered, and just get rid of that. They're overlapping. 0.02, 0.02. All right, cool. Maybe make that a component, so it's going to repeat. This should be equally spaced, because we measured that just a second ago. right, next time I do this, I'm going to trace this all out in advance. And then we're just going to model it together. I mean, again, let's just keep going. Paste those into place. Place those. That spacing is going to be a little bit different, so I'm okay with that. We're just going for it here, and then times 3, and then I want to just center those. Good enough. Okay. This just takes, like, it's so much stuff. It's so much to do. Like, I don't know how to not, other than just not doing this, like how to keep this going quicker. Like, for example, if I wanted just to pause there, we could just see what it looks like. We can just do an extrusion. We can always add more detail, or I can always come back later. So I'm just going to kind of see how this comes together. Just, you know, because we might actually have enough that we can start composing something. I know I want all these, like my brain, my OCD wants all these tiny little details, but it's like, does that like really make the best streaming? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe we just kind of work with what we got. So what I want to do is, really quick, I'm just going to hide the joints in between. So unless the joint needs to be there, like for example, I didn't finish this, but okay, so this would go like that. I might as well at least just finish this out so it doesn't look like there's a huge hole. Okay. Okay. Well, these stairs are going to be projected, so let's just keep that there. And then the stairs height in meters would be, this is measuring 0.2. I don't know, that's probably too high. We can just kind of come over here and just go divided by, say, 6 steps. That looks good. So that measures 0.17. I don't know, you guys tell me, you metric system people, if that feels okay, what you guys use for steps. We would use 6 inches here in the United States. Sometimes a little bit less. I said I was going to just like start extruding it, and I was like, oh no, needs at least these pieces here. We can start extruding these. Make that a component because I think it repeats. And just go there and times and there. And then the other ones don't repeat, so I'm just going to leave that. I'll leave that there. So, okay, we've got something. We've got something we can start extruding. Let's see how that works. Not perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to group that. We're going to rotate it up. I'm going to copy it from this base point, make sure that plus sign's there, 90 degrees. And from here, that's it. Sometimes it helps if you turn on ambient occlusion. Sometimes that's nice when you're modeling because it'll like just gives you a little bit of depth. So you can see what I'm doing here with like this balustrades here, these, yeah, just get a little bit of that depth there. So we're going to pull this out maybe by 0.2. And then let's just offset this part here just to make my life easier. I'm just going to offset this 0.1 and then just pull this down so that it touches there. Okay. And this is a component, so I should just be able to pull this out. 0.1. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Also a component, so probably want to pull that out again. This is probably all lined up. I don't know. We're just, if we really wanted to, you know, we would, if I was doing this properly, I would come over here, you know, I would look at this elevation. There's no way I'm going to be modeling this right now in 3D. So it's really just to give somewhat sense of scale. Although, yeah, I did not put these little windows in yet. So something to think about. What do you guys think I should do? How do you think we should, I mean, as we get close to the 2-hour mark, we can choose to go as long or as short as we'd like, but I'd like to know what feels like a good stopping point. I want to kind of get something composed, even if we don't get like a final rendered view. We can always do that in, you know, we can do that later. So these steps, I don't know why that line's there. So if we go here, a step, I want to go say 0.25. So maybe that step, I do actually kind of want to look at that step. Can we get to that step? No, there's people sitting on it. That step projects, it looks like it projects out. So I want to make sure that whatever we need to, we just pull out on that. So if we need to pull this out, maybe 0.5. Come over here and go 0.25. 0.25. Again, I don't know why I've got that line there coming in from somewhere where I split that. 0.25. 0.25. And then there's this last step, which means this area probably pushes back in quite a bit. So I'm just going to push that in a whole meter. Oh, this is where the ambient occlusion gets a little bit tricky because it can make your lines a little bit blurry. So maybe for right now, I'll just turn that off. We can turn it back on at the end. It does kind of add something though, doesn't it? There we go. I had a hidden line there. You can hide those lines. I don't know why that line's there. Okay. Oh, I don't know. We'll go 0.25, let's go with 0.1. There we go. I'm not sure what, oh, this probably was supposed to be split here. Yeah, this probably comes out. And this probably comes out as well. This probably comes out maybe even further. 0.1. All right. Let's just do that. 0.25. Okay. That probably goes in. I'm just gonna go with 1. I mean, that's pretty simple. He says, the longer the stream, the better. Yeah, we should just go all day. And you guys can just pop off and go get lunch or go get dinner. Go to bed. I'll just be going, you know, until tomorrow, until this thing is done. This one does not get rotated all the way around because this one just comes off of one side. So for example, all I need to do really is give this kind of a thickness. Like if I pulled, oh man. If I just grabbed these edges, for example, I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work because it's going to want me to grab, these are all connected. So let's see here, if I just grab all of these, can I move those? No, if I move them, it's not going to, yeah, it'll move these ones, but I can't really do it on a flat plane. You need an extrusion in order to be able to move. But I could just kind of push this back and let's figure out what that depth was. I think I mentioned it a second ago, a few minutes ago, but I can't remember. So let's look at this and just think, oh, this is completely wrong then. This whole thing pulls out. This is 4.7. Depends on where you measure it from. I'm just going to go 4.5. We'll just go 4.5. So this whole thing here, if I were to just grab this whole lower half and group that, this whole thing comes out. And then the easiest thing to do would be to close this off, I think. If I can close this off, then I can just fake it for now and just pull this all the way back. And for this, I should probably hide the one that's flat that I was using on the trace. Because really what we want to do is just, I don't know what angle. If we knew what angle we were going to do this, then we would just draw what shows up. So it's 2.5, so I'm just going to pull this back 2. And that gives us that 4.5 that I was looking for, and then there. Now this technically would have to come down because this is essentially more of like this, what would you call this? Like a balcony, like a landing? Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat really quick. It says 24 hours model-a-thon. Good for you. Unlike me, you still have to get done. I couldn't resist watching the stream. Okay. Yeah, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull this whole thing, except for this little bit here. So I want to somehow break this end. And we're gonna come out 0.1. Oh, okay. Intersect faces with model. What I want to do is give this thing a floor, first of all. So we don't have a floor right now. So if I kind of just grab something like that, yeah. It's probably easier if I like extruded something, because then, yes, I know, because then I can just grab the sidewall and just pull this out to there. And just grab this and just pull this all the way out. The trick now is that I want to just pull this whole thing down. I just want to just pull. I need to separate this. I'm going to separate that one, group that. Pull this whole thing down. Whoa, I split. Wait, hang on, maybe that's okay. Yeah, maybe that's okay. This is a component, so that one wasn't able to grab that one. Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna clean this stuff, a little bit of this up as I go. Not a lot, just a little bit of cleanup. I will probably come back in and just, maybe this is just like part 1 of this, where we just get the structure done, and then the next part we do is we just come in and add a little bit more detail. I can take these since I have these as components. I can just paste them here. You know, I might as well. I've got them. Sorry for the camera is a little bit funky. And I can just take these and just pull these over. So here's a little trick. If you want to figure out where, if you're looking at elevation and you're trying to figure out depth, you could, depending on your shadow settings, you could sort of turn shadows on. And then that just kind of tells me like, okay, what I'm looking at as far as depth is concerned. I don't know if that helps or not. Sometimes it does. So there's this column here. So I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to pull them over to here. Explode that group. I don't model with my shadows on because for those that know this, it does sort of take a little bit more computer processing. So I think if you don't need to, if it doesn't help you, don't do it. All right, so I want to do the same thing I did. I'm just going to offset this to here. I'm going to offset that, and then I'm just going to pull this down just to fake this, just to kind of close that off. And maybe even pull this out a little bit and pull this out even further. So what do you say? It says, if you go for so long, it can be hard for others to watch the whole thing. That's true. We would have to turn this into a speed modeling, or if you guys would have to join, you would have to just scrub, you know, which is the nice thing about having this on live afterwards is that you guys can scrub and go straight to like a part that you want to. I'm trying to close this part off here. So what did I do? What did I do? Maybe I don't need to close this off. Maybe it was just accidentally reversed when I push pull. So if I switch those. Yeah. Okay, a little bit cleanup. A little bit of cleanup. I don't know what that, if that's supposed to be up that high. I'm gonna leave it. All right, so now let's go ahead and place this. I mean, is it super exciting? Maybe not, but it's something. And it's also, just to kind of ground our thing out. So I don't know how this looks, but I'm guessing if we looked at it if we went and looked at it from the side, I'm guessing that balcony, yep, it sort of projects out. So what we would want to do at the very least is just take this and then just, at the very least is take these guys here and just copy these. Maybe place them there. And then Q on that. 90, push pull. So we'll do this. I'm gonna go for probably about half an hour more because I know I'm gonna be frustrated if I don't feel like I got something. I spent a lot of time just kind of building out the pieces so that we could build the tower, and of course there's more buildings than this. So what I want to do is lay the framework. Bye, John, if you got to go, if you guys got to take off. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you guys again. So what we'll do is I want to actually like maybe set this up in layout and compose a view. And then I'll have to do sort of the finishing details as either a one-off video or as a separate stream so that I can do sort of the next level. But you can kind of see as a draft of like what I wanted to do with the vintage postcard, I now have, you know, the pieces between the square, between the sort of cartoon set of the square and one of the buildings in detail. I think that's something that we can work with. So that's what I want to do. I want to sort of do that. So, okay. So I'm going to take this here, make this whole thing I don't need it a component. It's only one. So I'll just leave this here. I'll hide any seams. Don't need that, I don't think. Okay, definitely needs some cleanup. Definitely needs some more detailing. But for I think for a draft to get us set up, I think it'll get us somewhere. Okay, for this one, I'm just going to copy this one 90 degrees, move this over. And let's see here, move this way. Okay. And at this point, I'm not looking at like the reference or anything. I'm just saying, hey, let's just go. Has anyone played the Lego Star Wars? It's pretty amazing that they built. I mean, if I'm sitting here like trying to do just one building, it's pretty amazing what the game designers were able to do with building a whole Star Wars, you know, universe out of Legos in 3D. It's just impressive. I'm just impressed. All right. Let's take this and let's pop this over to here, and then we're going to get into layout. We're just going to kind of mock up something as a draft, and then we will decide what to do with it later. So here, I need to figure out where my center line is. If I were to draw, this is my center line here. And that's my center line here. So I want to I need my X-ray, so I want to snap it to right there. So you can see I'm slightly off. It looks like I'm a little bit lower, but I'm okay with that because, again, this is coming from two different drawings. So I think we just have to kind of accept that, you know, we're not going to get everything the way that we want it. Okay, I like that you guys support. It's a good, I like that you guys support me when I say, hey, let's do it this way. And you say, okay. So what I'm gonna do is take this and copy it 90 degrees. And the reason why I need to do that is just to finish this out. It'll look weird if this balcony is sort of not finished out. So I'm just gonna stay with me. Stay on target, Star Wars reference. Okay, stay on target. Here we go. I'm just gonna finish this out here. And then we're just gonna pause. All right, so I'm gonna keep this reference. I'm gonna put it on my image reference. I have an image tag, so I'm just gonna kind of put that there. Just, you know, you never know, might need it. Same thing, I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna put that. Okay, that's already on my image reference tag, so that's cool. So I've got all this stuff, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna hide this. And I'm going to update the scene. And we are going to make this a group, this whole thing. And we're going to take a minute and Whoa. We're not going to do that. We are going to go inside this group and we're going to get rid of this seam because this is going to be, visually, it's going to be annoying. So we're just going to kind of get rid of any seams that we have here. A quicker way to do it is just to kind of select everything and then come in and do it that way. So you just left select and E. I'm not sure what I was doing here. I think I still need to build out some more details on this, but I'm going to let that go. So I'm just going to hide those edges for now, and just so I get sort of maybe I'm just going to hide those edges for now. We'll clean those up. We'll do that as part of our part 2. Okay, so come in here. This is my little follow me group. Come into this group. Hide that. Get into that group, hide that. I think that's it. Maybe hide these. No, just delete them. No, that one I can't delete because it... that one's weird. That one's because this background is a different. I'm going to leave it. That's for cleanup. That's for another day. So, geez, what did we do in 2 hours? We told a story about why we're doing this. We got this map here, which I'm going to spend a minute here. Let's go ahead and spend a second. And we're just going to color out. So John says, looking good. Thanks. And yeah, I've still got you guys with me, so thanks. Let's do this. Let's spend a few minutes styling this out. We're just going to do a little mock in layout, and then we're just going to get something that approaches this image in my mind that I had, which is this kind of something like an old postcard or an old map. I think I'm going to kind of combine those two ideas. I think I'm going to do the map and I'm going to do the bell tower. And if we add more buildings in a future stream, I will redo this, but let's just go with that. So the first thing I want to do is look at color by tag. So if I look at color by tag mode, we can create a style. We're going to create a new style, color by tag. So I can change, for example, I don't know, maybe I want the buildings to be like a terracotta color. Maybe I want the background to be like a linen paper color. So again, I can choose a different background. I can choose it in layout. I can always choose a different background if I want to, but let's just see here. Maybe I want to do maybe a warmer, maybe kind of like just a different tone of, okay, so I need to turn the ground off. Whoa, that's a little too red. Okay, let's try that. Never give up, never surrender, John. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you. You guys your encouragement is pushing me on. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. So one thing I can do is within the CAD mapper file, I did do a little bit of cleanup on this. We have, oh, do you want to know what I want to do? I have a water line layer that came in that's a center line layer. It's called water, which is the center line of the canals. But if we do this, look, I'm trying to give it a background color. But what if we did it instead? What if we made the background a canal color? And then what we did is we made our ground plane, like our plaza layer, we made that a color. So that is on this CAD mapper tag. I just threw it. It just means it's untagged. It was on a CAD. So I'll just give this like a tannish. Okay, cool. And these paths layer is kind of cool. The reason why I like these paths is to keep them is because they represent the bridges. So for example, what I might want to do is grab that same color. I can do that by coming in and grabbing its hex code. And then I can come into paths and just paste that hex code in. And what I'm doing is essentially the ground plane. They're a little bit different though. That's interesting. I think for the sake of time, we can either make the paths different on purpose or we can leave them. Now I've already kind of put the buildings for the plaza on a different color. So you guys said boom. Okay, thanks guys. I'm gonna save this now. And so you can see this is just color by tag. So I'm not actually applying colors to anything because that would take too long, I think. So what I want to do is also look at turning off my edges. So view, edge style. I don't know if I want my edges off or not. So if you turn them off, it's a little plain Jane, but it's also kind of cool. One thing I think I'm missing is some ground here. So what I want to do is I'm going to use the freehand tool. It's going to bug me, sorry. I'm just going to kind of trace here. And I'm just going to grab anything that looks like it should have had some ground associated with it. Don't worry about it, the fact that it's not flat. So that's this shape here. And then I'm going to do that again. This, I believe, you can tell where canal water is. If I turn my image on, oh, my image doesn't show that far. But if I just kind of give you an example, you can kind of tell by looking at the image what is canal and what is building. Like for example, if you don't see a pathway here and you see paths crossing, those are probably bridges. But if you see an area like this, where there's paths coming in and out all over, this is probably meaning that this is all plaza. So, I mean, could there be a canal that comes in there? Maybe. I think this canal probably comes up here and follows this path edge, and maybe even comes and turns the corner. Maybe those are bridges. I don't know. So I guess it's something I just have to decide. I think for right now, what I want to do is just call this plaza, just so it's not, we don't have water in the courtyards, and then just be done. And you guys are probably sitting there saying, Eric, you drew those on top of 3D buildings, so that did not work. Yes, I know. If you enter this, you can go extensions. NROTH has one that's called flatten to plane. I'm going to flatten everything. I'm going to select everything first. NROTH flatten to plane. NROTH face creator. And in theory, if these faces were closed and they didn't leave, if they didn't have a gap for when I drew them, then they would fill in. But you can see that the way that I drew them with the freehand tool, it probably left some gaps or some stray edges. So let's fix that there. Let's close those up. I can put those on this tag called CAD Mapper, which is just sort of my catch-all base. And if I slide those in, if I slide that in right there, that's just kind of my filler so that I have plaza. And I also want to hide those edges, so I'm just going to go extension to, hide edges. All right, didn't need to do all that. It'll help me. Let's do this. Let's place this tower. Let's place this tower. I'm going to leave this part here. That was just, I'm going to leave this, my working stuff alone for right now. We'll just put all this, I'm just going to freeze all this so it doesn't show up later. This is the part that I have fun with. This is the part where it's like, yeah, let's go, come on. That tracing part, that was tough. Next time I'm gonna, so this is gonna go on the plaza tag because it is part of the plaza. Now look at that, I could have just used this. I could have just used that as a starting point. CAD Mapper had decent footprint. I like mine better. Okay, so I'm going to go into the CAD mapper. I'm going to freeze this because I don't like getting rid of stuff unless I know 100% sure that it's junk and it's tossed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze that original footprint. And then what I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to, and we're flying pretty fast and loose here. This is the way I like to do it. Yeah, you can see that it's somehow, I'm showing this different. So something's different between my information and the CAD mapper, what I was using and what I was given. Okay. So let's do this. I don't need those lines. So I'm going to hide those. I'm going to put those on the frozen tag. And I don't need my axis. I don't want to see my axis. So styles, update that. I don't need my watermark for this. I'm just going to turn this off for now. Okay. We left off on edge color. These should be, I'm just going to delete those. We'll worry about those later. And I'm going to put those on the Piazza tag because they are like columns or water features or something like that. I'll just leave them in there. Okay, so let's do this. Let's add a scene. I'm going to update this scene and I'm going to call this plan. And I want to look at what happens if I change my edge color. So I'm going to go to edges all the same, and I'm going to kind of give it that same, I'm going to give it like a sepia tone and see like a reddish sepia tone and see if that works or not. That may or may not work. I may want to do color by material, edge by material. See, when you do by material, it's like really subtle. Like you can see those edges if you look really close, but they're just kind of almost not there. The other thing we can do to try and show that this is 3D if we want is we could turn on shadows. So the problem with shadows is that it's not just, it changes, it doesn't just give you depth, it changes just the colors that you have too in your model. So sometimes you can, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? What do you guys think in the chat? I have to wait because there's a little bit of a delay. But I'm going to play a little bit with just kind of... Okay, so Patrick says he's liking the shadows. I'm going to push the ambient occlusion all the way up. But the problem is you just don't... You really don't get ambient occlusion unless you're close. I don't think you see a difference with ambient occlusion unless you're close up. Okay, digging the shadows. I'm digging the shadows too. Let's go with it. Red edges. John, you said red edges rather than color by... If I do edges color by all the same, gives you the red edges, which I think looks good on the clay tiled, on the buildings that should be clay tiled roofs. It's like the question is like, does it look good here? Now here's the thing. We can do this twice because we can stack viewports. So if we did want to, what we would do is we would update this one. I would create another style, and then I would make this one by material. So what I'm going to call this one is CBT by matte, and make sure that my hidden geometry is turned off. And then I would do this one CBT, hidden geometry is turned off, hidden faces, CBT, and then this one is all red. I'm just going to CBT red edge. Okay, so that's done. I think styling-wise, plan-wise, let's go with that. Last thing I want to do is I'm going to give myself a monochromatic. I'm going to give myself a monochromatic style, just for fun, just to get line work. So what we're going to do is we're going to do background should be white, because for monochrome style it should be white. And what we want to do here is edge color doesn't matter, especially if we're going to go to vector, we could change it, but maybe I'll leave it the same. I'll leave it the red edges for right now. So what I want to do is just call this one hidden edges. No, I'm just going to call this what do you call this one? Monochrome. Yeah. Oh, and then for this one, if you wanted the canal water to show up, we could, in this case, make the ground, instead of doing background blue, we could just do ground blue. And now we've got ourselves some canal water. All right, cool. Let's do that. I'm gonna save this. So I have these styles now. So I have my trace style. I have my monochrome with canals. I have my default, which you can see I've got some reverse faces. I'm okay. I'm just gonna ignore those. And then I've got my color by material edges, and then I've got my edges all the same. So let's go with that. Let's now set up a scene for my bell tower. Now the way we're going to do that is we're going to, my campanile, is we're going to create a section, tools, section plane. And we're going to face this because I don't know what angle that is. It's kind of a weird angle. And I'm just going to pull back like that. And I'm just going to say align view. And then I'm going to toggle my section cut off. And now I have something. Now I have something. So I'm going to update this view and I'm going to rename this one Campanile. Manile, if I spell that right. AO works better on small. Yeah, we may be able to get the AO to work on this. I'm not sure. Let's try it. So styles, I'm going to go monochrome. That looks kind of cool. Let's do this shadow settings. I'm going to turn shadows on for this because this is where we're going to get a little bit of depth. Whoa, I'm glitching out. Okay, so this is where the hard work of actually making, getting all these little extrusions and things helps. I also want to make sure that my profiles are turned on. Yeah, I know it's not gonna bug me that it's not finished, but hey, this is, we're flying real loose. Okay, let's see what happens when we put fog in. Now, I'm not always a fan of fog. I don't use it because it's almost too finicky. Like I can't get it exactly the way I want. But sometimes, like just to push the background, just see if you look at these background buildings here, just to push those back a little bit, assuming that we keep those. Of course, they're not really detailed, they're not finished, but if we wanted to push those back just a little bit, we could do that. So let's do that. Let's take this here and let's save this, just update this scene. Again, I can always turn fog off. So fog is saved not as a style, it's saved to a scene. Patrick says this is great. Okay, here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna wrap up. I said we're gonna go about half an hour after. So let's go to layout. We're gonna mock up sort of this postcard, vintage postcard concept. And then we're basically gonna leave it to a point where, of course, I'm not gonna be thrilled with it because I didn't get to the level of detail that I wanted, but I think I'm gonna express the concept the way that I wanted. So we're gonna save this. At least we're gonna, oops, don't want a new file. I'm going to send to layout. You guys are liking the shadows. Ahmed, you guys are saying, John says cool. So we're gonna do this. Ooh, the tower is very tall. So I might want to do this as a, jeez. What if we did this as an A4? Let's go metric since, let's try this. I don't know if this is gonna work. Let's try going portrait. Layout has a bug for me. When it first boots, it shows a black screen. I just create a new page and then it clears. So please don't, it's something that I've brought up. I don't know why. I want the star of the show to be the plaza. Here's what we're gonna do. Now this is what happens when you don't practice. When you don't practice this, you don't know, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. You guys just have to kind of hope that it's fun to sit and watch me figure it out. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, and I haven't even been in layout for a long time. First thing I want to do is come over here and say preserve scale. And let's just see if it makes sense to give it a scale. So I'm going to go with 1 to 500. No, of course not. That's not going to work. We need to be zoomed out. 1 to 1,000. It's not going to work either. 1 to 3,000. That's okay. Maybe. So here's the thing though. Now what we need to do is we need to center. I want to center the square about here. Now I don't know exactly, and I want to give it borders because I kind of like those vintage posters and postcards where they have like borders around it. In fact, if I wanted to grab right now, just come in and just create a shape, I can give a color to the border. Can you give the paper a color? I can't remember if you can color your paper. Send it back. No stroke. Fill color. We're going to pop over. So we're going to pop over to SketchUp. We're going to go to plan view. Oh, I think the paths and the ground plane are different colors because I think that the code that I typed in, this hex code, isn't quite right. You can see the paths hex code is different. So there, I just fixed it. There. So you guys are saying it's clever with the fog. It's good to see your thought patterns, how you think things through. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, because I always wonder. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give this paper, I just gave it a background paper, and what we're going to do is give it a hex code, if I can. I'm just going to pull that same hex code. I don't know if I like that. I might like just the white borders, the white better, because it contrasts. Yeah, I think I'm going to like that white. I just like the white better. I like the contrast. So what we're going to do here is, I wish there was a way to do this better, but there isn't. I'm just going to try to center the square, which I'm not doing a great job at. I'm just kind of doing this manually. And then I'm going to kind of, again, we can refine this later. Okay, so I'm going to save this layout file really quick. So this is going to be St. Mark's, and it's going to be postcard. And then I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this viewport right into place, but this time I'm going to switch scenes. I'm going to switch from the plan to my Campanile. I want to turn the background off on this. And I don't know, I'm second guessing something. Give me a second. I just had an idea. So what I want to do is come over here. Okay, I'm going to do this. For right now, I'm going to turn the fog off. I'm going to create, okay, color by tag off. Okay. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to save this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create my default style here. This is this style. So I'm going to select this and go update. Oh man, I need that little angel. I need that little cherub up there. So now when I come over here, I'm going to update the model reference, and I'm going to switch to this default style, and I'm going to, I want to make sure there's no sky or background in this one. Can't have the fog on for this one. I don't think I can have fog on for this because I want it to be transparent background. Either that or what I need to do is, turn the sky off, ground off. Yeah, I don't want anything. I just want this building here. And I'm going to put this on its own tag just to be safe. So I'm going to go S tower. You guys see the white looks better than the brown? Hang on. We have the monochrome style. We can still do the white if this doesn't work. So let me put this on the tower tag. And then that way, if I do color, if I do color by tag override, I can put this one, I can make this whatever I want. So if I wanted this to be my colors, I can make that pop, save that, pop over here into layout. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Update model reference. And this one, what's going on? Why is it giving me a background color when I said no background? It says no background. I said no background. What am I missing? That one doesn't have a background. I guess we're using this one. I guess the fates have intervened. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what scale works for this. Now, if I left it at 1 to 3000, it's the same scale as our sort of plan here. But yeah, hang on. I just want to click through these. Yeah, weird. Hey, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, there's no background in that one. It says the white looks better. Okay, I know. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to change that scale. I'm going to go bigger. Let's go 1 to 2000. Once, twice as much. Let's go even bigger. That's 1 inch equals 1,000 feet. Okay, let's try 1 inch equals 1,000. And then we get to play with typography. I don't know if my friend Nick is still on the chat, but he was joining me, and he's a graphic designer. And I think this is where he would, I look to him and I say, hey, this is where you could have some fun. So if I'm really focusing on the square, then I kind of want to, it's kind of interesting if you think about the way your eye reads information. It's like this tower, you can think of it as like an arrow, and it's pointing up. And the question is, what is it pointing to? It's pointing to the entrance to the plaza. So it's self-referential, which I think is kind of interesting. I didn't think about that till just now. So what I want to do is grab this color. If I use the eyedropper tool, I don't know that I can grab this particular color. I want this red color. I might just have to go back into SketchUp and grab the hex code on my buildings, which is this hex code. And then I just pop back over into layout. And then under color, I just type in that. Right? So what we're getting here is, oh, that zoom is, by the way, that's not a glitch. I think I have my performance layout as of 2024 has this thing that's called draft mode. So draft mode basically means that it won't preview when you zoom. So if you turn that off, you'll get that preview back. So if I come over here and I give this a stroke, and then we're going to switch into typography right after this. And that'll be perfect because that'll give us 5 minutes, and then we're going to wrap up. So I'm going to grab something like this terracotta color. I'm just going to kind of do a slightly darker version of this, kind of like what my edge color looks like, trying to match my edge color, and I don't want to go back into SketchUp. I'm going to take those two and these three and just group them together. Oops, I don't want all three of those. I just want those. So if I wanted to, I can move these. So I can set a scale. Since these are to scale, I can set a scale. This one, does this one have shadows turned on? Ooh, I don't like that little glitch there. Well, I can fix that. Let's try putting vector on. So just knock on wood. Sometimes with vector, with lots of information, it gets kind of upset. But let's try it. Let's go in here and let's switch over to hybrid so that we can keep our colors, and let's see what happens to our performance and see if it takes a dive. It didn't. Thank you. So now we're getting those clean edges, and that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some typography in. And again, I did not pre-plan this, so I am thinking that there's this, if you look at the negative space of the canal around here, that's kind of what I would do. Now we could do this in another program, or we could just keep this pure and true and stay in SketchUp and LayOut. And I'm just going to just pull the words. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to go Saint. We got to do this. Are we doing this in Italian or I'll ask the chat. Are we doing this in Italian or in English? St. Mark's or Piazza San Marco? I'll just type something, and then if you guys are pushing me one way or the other, I might switch. So let's just go with, I'll just start in English. Okay, so typography, fonts, this is where it gets fun. You guys are saying English. I got 2 for Italian, 1 for English. Oh, I might have to do 2 versions. So we got to think about some fonts here. So first thing I want to do is make this nice and big so we can see it. We can go, I don't know if we want to go traditional. This is where I might actually, oh man. You guys are saying, you're saying Italian. I got 3 for Italian. I think you're right. I'm going to go with okay. So this is where I could spend way too long going through and looking at fonts. Now, the reason why I use a serif font, okay. Yeah, I was thinking so too, because the reason why is, let's go back and look at some of these examples here if we can. You know, this is where I think that I might even, and you could do some cool stuff with drawing actually the font in SketchUp. Or we can just keep it super simple like this. I kind of like this. So we're just going to copy. We're kind of copying this map a little bit, but we're combining it with some architecture. So we're kind of blending the two. So let's just kind of keep it simple. We're going to go with, let's go with all fonts. How about Times New Roman? What does that look like? I know, so cliche. Where's my, I don't even know, do I even have Times? Ooh, that's kind of nice. That feels vintage Italian, but that's not a serif. It's funny, the word piazza looks like pizza there. Piazza. Almost like you want to put a space in there. Oh, there's Times New Roman. Okay. And I'm probably going to want to do this. We can do this here. I was thinking, this is what I was thinking about doing, and I don't know if I'm sold on this idea yet. But, you know, there's just so much energy with the way that the canal kind of comes at an angle like that. That's one way to do it. I mean, I might copy this and then just undo that and then keep it here, because you can also see that we can fill the space. We can also just fill this space down at the bottom. So I'll paste that there. We'll kind of keep that off to the side. Actually, I don't know, maybe we'll keep this one off to the side. What are you going to say? Use serif font, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Have you guys just met me? I think you might have just met me. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do another one. So I'll just copy this and paste it. And we'll use a different font. And we're going to do Venice, Italy. Actually, kind of like that font. Is that also Times New Roman? And then maybe we'll change the color to that. Yeah, but now it makes me want to rotate it. Agreed that angle text, angle works. Try a handwritten font. Okay, this is where it's like we could do all kinds of cool things. I'm at the time that I said we would be at, so what I'm going to do is I think I can do better with the typography. I think that I think I could do better. But I want to pause. I want to end on a high note. I don't want to beat myself up too much. I've got my Vespa mug, I've got my coffee, and I've got some good friends with me. So what I want to do is just pause there for a minute. And then what I would do is, from where I would go with this, is I would probably model, I'd like to do the Doge's Palace. I mean, we didn't have time to do both of those today. I didn't even finish, you know, the full campanile properly, and didn't even get the pattern, you know, the paving pattern in the square. There's so much we can do, but I do want to point out though, instead of beat myself up on what didn't work, I can, wait, hang on. I want to try something. Hang on, just bear with me for 1 second. This may or may not work. This is the problem, but this is also the good thing about doing this, is that you just get ideas, and sometimes they don't work, and then you go, okay, and then sometimes they do. Ungroup. Okay, so how do I get that back? So you know what I mean? Like, there's another way of looking at this, which is that there's a space underneath the section cut. And we could do something like that. I did like a handwritten font. I kind of liked this one that I was looking at here. I don't know if this one worked. It had some energy to it. It was called Birthstone. That one is kind of fun. If I did something like 80. I was totally like saying my goodbyes, and then I was like, no, no, no. But this is the fun of doing this, and it's fun to have you guys with me as an audience. Again, this is the first time I did this by myself. I think that there's still more for me to learn. I think ultimately, oh man, I messed that up. This is what happens when you're talking and typing and reading chats and doing all this stuff at the same time. It does give me a big appreciation for people who do this, and it gives me a big appreciation for people who come to watch these, and just makes me want to do more better. So what I'm going to do is pop this over here, and you're all still here with me. Thank you. Okay, well, thanks for entertaining me there. I'm just going to push this off to the side like we couldn't see it. And heck, we go to presentation mode. Does presentation mode work? No, I think that's where that glitch is. Okay. All right, guys. That's it. We did 2.5 hours. Yes, of course we could go. I probably could go for 2 more. I could probably take a rest. We could take an intermission, half an hour, go get a snack, come back in here, detail this thing out. But I also think it's okay to be realistic about what you can do in this amount of time. And I think, to be honest with you, I realized this vision that I had, this little like idea of celebrating a place that I went to, bringing you along for the ride, working it through with the information that I have and the skills that I have, and then putting it together into something that maybe could be a poster that I could print. Maybe next time I stream, you guys will see me see this poster in the background, and I think that'd be pretty cool. So you guys, let me see. I'm just going to read any parting thoughts or questions or comments, and then we'll wrap it up here. I'm going to put some music on. Did the intro music go during the 2-minute countdown? Let me know. So Mihai, grazie, my friend. Thank you for coming. I don't know what time it is in Romania, but it's probably getting late. John, thanks for coming. You guys, we did it. I think we did something. We did something. That's what I say. We did something. Yeah, let me know, you guys, in the comments afterwards. You don't have to do it right now in the live chat, but come back later. Let me know what kinds of stuff that you like. I called this stream 3D Trippin because I wanted to go on a road trip with you. I love exploring places, whether they are new, whether they are in film, or whether they are traditional. And I like to unpack them. I like to understand what makes them work, and I like to recreate them. And I think that the fact that I like to just, I don't know, I just like to And then I like to have these files that in my back pocket, because then I could pull them out later and say, hey, I've got a map for that. I've got a bell tower for that. I've got this thing, I've got this component for that. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. You guys all have a great Sunday. Thank you for joining me so much. Hope to see you all again. Let me know in the comments where you want to go next, and we'll take it from there. So I will see you. I'm going to hit my music here. Give me a second. I got to pull it open. Okay, ciao.